etymology, it's just his story.
It's been made up?
Just made up. Kind of like the guy that made up race. He just made something up. But the people relative to me, they're the ones running around being the champions of race. They're the ones around talking about white people and black people and all this other nonsense like it's real. Well, you know why it's real? What? Because they keep on talking about it like it's real. And that makes it real for them. If they would get it out of their brains, it would not be here. And someone said, well, see, you can't get it out of white people's brains. I haven't said anything about getting it out of white people's brains. I am talking about you. Just get it out of your brain. Then what's going to happen is you're going to... Has anyone ever seen me in Mr. Black's World sweatshirt?
Yes.
Well, I'm going to get some Mr. Black's World t-shirts made up. And I'm going to talk about one. But the only reason I want you to have one is so that you can actually practice what we're doing so you can learn how to have your world. You need your own world. Right now, you keep living in somebody else's world. I got a real personal friend that I really love to death, but he loves to be in the white man's world, doesn't he? Why does he love to be in the white man's world? Somebody tell me. How do I know that he loves to be in the white man's world? How do I know this?
Because I'm a natural born warrior and I like to fight.
You like to fight the white man.
I like to fight.
I tell you what you do. Get in a fight with a group of people where you're outnumbered.
Bad shit.
In the neighborhoods that I grew up in, you didn't do that. You saw a bunch of folks sitting on the stoop, you know, to go down a gangway and get out the way. Matter of fact, you better hope they didn't see you.
That's right.
Especially if you got money in your pocket because you was going to the store for your auntie. Because they laying to see you so they can rob you. You knew that, didn't you? So you didn't want them to see you, so you ducked. Now we're living where I know we're outnumbered. Why y'all running your mouths? I'm just curious. Why you over? You gotta see me, folks. You gotta know I'm here. Where's it come from?
Ignorant.
It does, but where does it come from? How do we know it comes from ignorance? Who gave us the information historically? Who gave us the information?
Law.
A man by the name of Ellison, Ralph Ellison. His book was Invisible Man. He gave us the information. He gave us the information to allow us to see a lot of the problems that are deep down inside of us. How many of us have bothered to read the book? How many of us have bothered to introduce the book to our children?
I read it, but I didn't really get the ending. But
You didn't get the ending, but you read it.
well,
Who did you discuss it with? How did you do the analysis? How did you know how to do the analysis? Why were you reading it? Why were you reading it?
well, I heard it was supposed to be an important book.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. We hear that Black history is supposed to be important. Isn't that what you told me? That's what we heard. Why is it important? Why are we studying this thing that you call in Black history? You said she said something wrong. What did she say wrong? She said we should have Black history. What makes that wrong?
Should be recognized.
What should be recognized? People? What people? This group of people? Oh, so they should be recognized how well they act so they can get an Oscar, right? Recognized by who? By whom? Who?
We should learn our history like we learn their history. Everybody's history should be part of history.
That's what's fair. That's what's fair, right?
That's the way it should be.
That's what it should be. So the world ought to be the way the world ought to be. Well, what should be is what we should actually try to go after, right? Now, I'm interested, me personally, I'm truly interested in what is the world, what's really going on. Now, at the same time, me personally, I live in Mr. Black's world. I'm trying to make sure that Taj grows up having his own world. Just like Walt Disney had Disney World. Just like I watch the news every day and they have the Arab world. That's all they talk about when the news comes on the Arab world. And the Arab world is trying to create a caliphate. In the Arab world, and then now all of a sudden I'm always hearing about the white man's world. This is weird. If Disney World, the white man's world, the Arab world, the only time I ever heard about the Negro world was a paper by Marcus Garvey. Why was he trying to write about the Negro world?
Trying to make us conscious.
Conscious of what?
Of ourselves.
You said trying to make us conscious of ourselves. In what way?
In a positive way that we'll learn to do for self, that we'll learn to
So the Negro world, what happened to it?
it collapsed during integration.
So with that paper collapsing, did the Negro world collapse? Did the Negro world ever come into existence?
I think it
And the black world came into existence. Where is it?
did. It disappeared too, it collapsed during integration.
So you say it came into existence.
Yes, sir.
Tell us how.
Well, we had black everything in that community where I grew up.
You mean what we had was we had a few so-called black people who actually had accomplished something and was doing something.
Right.
But some kind of way that got turned into black this and black that. Well, how is it black anything? Because a black man did it? Or because a black woman did it? What made them black? Where did they get that from? Did they create this whole thought about I'm black?
O.J. Simpson said he wasn't black, said he was O.J.
But the question is, where did they get that from? That's the question.
We were born into it,
They were born into what?
to these terms.
Into these labels. But you didn't create these labels.
Goes back to textbooks and dictionaries.
Oh, so it goes back to how you learn how to use the language
And history.
and history. So now we can find out that a lot of this stuff is just made up, is out of context. But if we're going to study history, let's say we're going to study religion, and we think that so-called black people are going to give us truth. Well, who is primarily the man that was giving us some truth about religion that was what you would call a black person? Give me the name of one.
Judge
I don't know how you knew that, David. But that's exactly the name that was in my brain. Was that the name that was in all of your brains?
No. Hey.
But did you hear what he said?
John Jay.
John G. Jackson. Can you pull up John G. Jackson for us? Now, on the blog, in the blog, we do have a paper that was written about Christianity, I think 1937, by John G. Jackson. And what he's talking about is civilization, about Jesus, and what color is Jesus. This is in the 1930s. This is John G. Jackson. But John G. Jackson was probably the most important person that you could ever study about so-called black people in this country. Now, don't get me wrong, he was not the father of this, and neither was Carter G. Woodson. But the father of this was called the Black Sherlock Holmes. And what was his name? He was the Sherlock, what's his name?
Arthur Schoenberg.
Arturo Schoenberg, out of Puerto Rico. Came out of Puerto Rico. He was not a black American, he was not an African American, he came from the island. And most of the people that we're all talking about, they're black, all came out of the islands. They weren't black people. Garvey came from the islands. Padmore came from the islands.
Colin Powell, Sidney Poitier, all of them.
So why did Garvey identify with Africa? I mean, with other
With African Americans?
with the continent of Africa so much.
Because it was a thought that he had that if this group of people would actually go to Africa and do what had been done on the European continent or in other places of the planet, that they could create a new empire. And the brother that used to sit at his feet actually tried to accomplish that. And that brother was the one who actually brought the black line, the Black Star Line, into existence. What was his name? His name was Kwame Nkrumah. Brought the black line, the Black Star Line into existence. It pulls in every month right down here in Alabama. It comes to the port in Alabama every month. But our children are being taught that that never happened. That the Black Star Line never happened. That it failed. But why is it that we're teaching our children all this nonsense instead of having what I'm suggesting is the power to go in and do the research for ourselves? But now, I know I've been working, oh, matter of fact, when did we first put up Arturo Schoenberg?
On your page?
Yeah, in the
Red
site.
Years ago.
It was definitely at least two, if not 5 years ago.
Oh, way longer than 5 years.
Okay, all right, come. At least 2 to 5 years ago. It's been in the site all the time. And Abiso Campos, Schoenberg, all of it in the site. How come we're not using it? I know someone that studies like you study, you could definitely use it. Now, trust me, I'm not telling you to go along with whatever Wikipedia is saying. I am telling you, whenever you see some language that denigrates you or your ancestors, change it. You just use this as a reference point. But, you know, the same people telling me don't trust Wikipedia tell me they look stuff up in the encyclopedia. Who wrote the insert in the encyclopedia? You saying that's writing for Wikipedia? Maybe it was some college professor. It's just other people. So why should I trust them? Well, me personally, I don't trust these people. I don't trust anybody.
Right. And that's what they don't get. They
You don't have to trust anybody. What can you do?
discern
You
for
can learn
yourself.
how to trust yourself. You can learn how to do the research for yourself. And I'm suggesting that if you learn how to read, I guarantee you, you'll sit down and read the Declaration of Independence and you'll see slaves all over the place. Did you find subjects for her?
In the Declaration of Independence?
Yeah.
I didn't.
Where should it say subjects? Shouldn't it be right down there by, we hold these truths to be self-evident? Because they should say that they're subjected to abuse, long trains of abuses and usurpations. But the thing about it is I don't think, in a lot of cases, you might find it in a few minutes. You have to actually go in and do the work. You had some questions for me. You did the work, right?
I forgot what the question was. How about Africa? The first one about Africa, tracing the etymology of Africa.
So has everyone done that? Has everyone done the etymology on Africa? I know you've done it, haven't you, Brandon?
I have.
Well, tell me what you've done. Show me what you've done. Explain to us what you've done. Maybe it'll help her.
I don't want to explain what I've done.
Oh, why not?
I can go to it though. I can tell you what I was looking at.
What were you looking at?
I was looking at Wikipedia.
Wikipedia. You said no? What do you mean no?
I never looked it up on Wikipedia, but in the way the word may be set up, I don't know if Wikipedia uses it. I don't know.
No, they have good etymology.
They got a good etymology.
Well, maybe what he's doing, maybe this will help you. But I don't know why he doesn't want to show you,
Right.
because he wants me to show him.
Right on.
I know I didn't. I've never asked you.
You never asked me to show you anything, so
No,
I haven't
but-
shown you anything.
Not about Africa, because you already told us that you're not going to tell us.
Right.
Well, that goes without saying. Why am I not going to tell you?
Because we need to find out for ourselves.
Why do you need to find out for yourself?
So you can know.
So you can come to know. If I tell you, you won't do the work, and you'll never know. So again, he's showing you, her about Africa. What? I'm waiting.
Hold on.
What do you got?
I have the data up there. So,
What do you have?
Well, I was thinking about the word itself. We have to go into a fair and car.
So now, one of the best things you could do is get your hands on a Latin dictionary. I'm not asking you to learn to read a Latin dictionary. That's really a little too difficult for the process that we're doing right now. And you need to stop thinking that you can go to the end and start. You can't. Why don't I want you to look in the Latin dictionary?
That's
What
how-
will you find, right?
That's words began, root words go back to the,
They'll go back to Greek, and they'll go back to Latin, and they'll go back to Sanskrit. But you got your hand up on. That's the lie that's out in the street. That's what Calypso Louis is running around telling everybody. I think he called the Roman general Scipio Leo or Scipio Africanus. Yeah, no, it didn't. It didn't. Now, matter of fact, both Leo and Scipio, where were they from? They were both from Carthage. So they were both from Carthage. What does that tell you? They were both African. Now, someone would say that they look like the people that are in the area that Carthage is today, which is Tunisia. These are very light-skinned people. And those people did not get to that area until after the word Cairo comes into existence. Now, you got to find the date when the word Cairo comes into existence in Egypt. And that's when you all of a sudden start finding lighter-skinned people, people with lighter pigmentations.
I've been to Tunisia.
I understand. But there's a group of people in not only Tunisia, but other places that look like you.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, John. Chad, there's a whole group of people there that were always there long before the invasion of these people that came over from what is known as the Arabian Peninsula,
Even in Dubai,
even in Dubai.
all across there.
Even everywhere.
Yeah, all across
Even
there.
what?
Even everywhere.
What do you mean by that? I'm not following that one.
Anywhere in the world there was darker
All
people.
right, all right, how do you get that? Where do you come up with that from?
Everything that I have ever looked at had,
Give me the reference so I can go to it. I want to know.
I don't know the name of it, but the Japanese.
Who the
like
Japanese
Chinese.
you're speaking about are called the Adamese. There is a group of Chinese people who are very dark pigmentation. As a matter of fact, you find them among the Mio right now. And other mountain people, you'll find darker skinned people right now.
Ireland,
When you say Ireland, what are you talking about?
12 people.
No, stop it. Don't go there like that. When you say the what?
Philippines, you have.
The Twa people are out of Africa, and they are known as pygmies. That's how y'all learned it. You didn't learn anything about Twa. What is it? I know I'm right. I'm not guessing about what I'm talking about. Trust me. I asked everybody in this room, don't guess on me. You guess on me, I'm going to actually make you feel bad. The reason I'm doing that, we got too many children around here. We can't afford it. Twa people come out of Africa. There's a number of other groups besides the Twa that are small people, little people. Where's the first indication that you get about some little people? What's one of the first indications that you get when you study anything? Let's say you're going to study about ancient Egypt. Where will you see an indication of the Twa?
This
Where?
is it named Bis?
What are you talking about?
That's a little small deity called Bis.
I don't know anything about it. Well, teach me, I'm down.
Okay.
What is it?
I don't know. I'm telling you. Hold on. I'm gonna go to.
What are you talking about, Africa again?
They said Egypt.
I get that.
Egypt. Tell me about Egypt.
The dog
What dog?
that was in Nefertiti's lap or something.
Now here's the funny thing about that. The Egyptologists interpreted and translated that picture that was on a wall as a doll. That actually was a small person.
I got you.
This is what I was talking about. This.
I don't know anything about any of that. You gotta leave me out of that. All that Egypt talk, what is it?
You got a bunch of them up there.
All right, so that means we're going in and doing the work. Now I do understand about sculptures and work that have been found that is ancient work. I do understand a little bit about it. I know the difference between that and airport art. I know how to look at something in order to determine if it was made on a machine or if people actually with their hands on it. That's right. I know how to look at the wood and tell if the wood is actually from Korea or actually came from wood out of an area in Benin, in Gambia. I know how to do that. But all this other stuff that's going on, I don't trust none of it. Absolutely none of it. Now understand, everybody keeps saying, well, how are we going to find out? See, because you're going to learn to read in such a way so that you can do the comparative analysis of things. And it's going to allow you to know. It's going to allow you to truly apprehend comprehension. And now we're not guessing. Click on some of those. I'm sure we know about everything here, right?
Which one?
Doesn't matter. Anything that's red, you click on anything that's red, and it'll take you to the information about that. Now, this is all over the site. In other words, I don't know anything that you can use better than this to help you get through whatever it is that you're studying in school, especially if we're talking about history. Are y'all studying Black history now?
Yes, sir.
What? Tell me what
We
you
just
study.
started talking about the Harlem Renaissance.
The Harlem Renaissance. Tell me what a Renaissance is. It is hot. Tell me what a Renaissance is.
I'm not sure.
But they're gonna take you through a process that they're gonna call the Harlem Renaissance, but they're not gonna get you to understand what Renaissance is. I want you to think about that one. Anyone want to help him out?
Isn't the Renaissance a rebirth?
That's one way of saying it. Give me another way of saying it. A Renaissance.
Renewing?
That's good. How did you find all this out?
I'm just trying to do the same.
Oh, how did you learn to do that? But you can do it. Good. I think, spell repetition. Everybody got that? Do you know that that's one of the most misspelled words on all of the tests? They came up with PI. But now how about this? What if they realize that the word repetition comes from the word repeat? So if there's an E in repeat, there's going to be an E in repetition. So we learn different ways to accomplish something. That's what orthography does for us. What is this right here? How about this one? How many times you can listen to the radio and the preacher comes on the radio and he says, "You live in de facto racial segregation"? How many times have you heard the preachers come on the radio and say that? What? I know that the preachers right here in Memphis was coming on the radio saying de facto segregation. Has anyone here ever heard the term de facto being used when these people are talking? You have. Anyone else?
I've seen it in
Long time ago.
Who's on there? Well, did they tell you what de facto mean?
No, not
But you know now
from class.
from class. Well, how about this? We didn't know what de jure was either.
No.
But yet, the whole time we've been here, this has been in our faces. De jure. What are we talking about when we're talking about de jure? What?
Of God.
God's law.
Of God.
God's law.
Now, I think one of the candidates, the Republican candidate, just said the other day that this was about God's law. This is not about government. Didn't both of them said it? What's in the names?
Trump.
Texas? No, not Trump.
Cruz.
Cruz and the one from Texas.
Rubio. You mean Rubio.
Yeah, both of them.
Trump.
One of them from Florida, one of them from Texas.
They both are lawyers.
But they said that we live under God's rules. What are they talking about?
Your divine right.
What's the divine right? Because I hear y'all always telling me you got a right to your opinion.
Life lived in the pursuit of happiness.
Those are only a few of the divine rights.
It's in the Declaration of nature's laws and
The laws of
nature.
nature and nature's laws.
We're entitled.
That's right. To your proper place. But you got to do something in order to get this. Here, I'm a relative to a whole group of people that don't want to do anything. Don't want to do anything. Then you say you want to fight. I haven't seen anybody fight. The only ones that I did see fight, they all went to the penitentiary and got killed. The ones that were fighting. One of them still down in Cuba. I think they're trying to bring her back now. Yeah, sorry. You know, but understand, everybody just running off at the mouth. Why? How about going in and just find out what the jure is? What a natural law is. In other words, how many articles in the Constitution? No, wait a minute. Y'all, what? What'd you say?
25.
Stop. Y'all mean to tell me you're going to graduate from high school and college, and you don't even know how many articles in the Constitution? How many articles in the Constitution? When you get to the 7th article, and right below the 7th article in the U.S. Constitution, you'll have all your signatures. So if all your signatures are right below the 7th article, what does that tell you? That's the end of the Constitution. Everything after that is an amendment. Everything after that is de facto law. Everything prior is de jure. De jure is a French word. Means of God. Now we've got to utilize the first sound in that word to understand what's being talked about. Even when you find the word Jew, you get Jew. But now I'm not saying Jew was really correct, but understand somebody actually took this particular vernacular and created a nomenclature, a name for people. Jew. What were they?
Hebrew.
You said they were Hebrews. Where did the Hebrews come from?
Yes, that part of Africa.
Now you get ready to guess.
Yes. I don't know.
Where did the Hebrews come from? Where did Jews come from? You said they came from Ethiopia. Where they come from in Ethiopia? Because we're going to go to one of them stores tonight and we're going to deal with Makeda or Belle or whatever her name is. And she's going to be the one that's hooked up with Solomon. And they're all coming out of Abyssinia, Ethiopia, as you call it. But Ethiopia is what kind of word? It's a Greek word. It's a Greek. What does it mean? It means nothing about blackface. There's nothing about face in the word Ethiopia. There's the word op, but what does op mean?
See.
It means eye. It deals with vision. See. So the first part of the word is what? All you got to do is look in your dictionaries and look up the word Ethiopia and look up one word above the word Ethiopia. You should see the word ethic. And what does ethic mean?
Morals. People have.
Honor. So the Greeks were actually talking about a land where you see honor. And Herodotus never said anything bad about African people or Ethiopian. He said our what?
Go ahead.
He said our gods traveled to Ethiopia to dine with the gods. That's what he said.
Who said that?
What you call Herodotus. I don't call him Herodotus. So you got to go in and teach yourself how to actually pronounce the names. But see, the Greeks, he's supposed to be the father of history. That's what he's supposed to be. Herodotus. Yeah.
So Jew, did that word come out of Europe?
Basically, yes. It basically came out of France. And it's going to come into
Yeah,
English
see.
with jury and judicial. And it's going, you're going to, as long as you understand that, you're going to understand what's going on about God.
So it's lawful people?
No. A people of God. And it deals with Judea.
Al Lewis has a question. He wants to know, what does the word slave do to the brain?
we've already covered that, but you can send them back the answer. It causes absolute problems on the brain. The word itself, the word slave.
Okay,
Yes.
I start substituting the word prisoner.
Good,
Like prison.
good. You can substitute a number of words: bondsman, enslaved people. Now, at the same time, you have to restructure the grammar. In other words, if you change any kind of grammar, restructure everything. I was telling you about as a woman or as a man thinks, right? Well, when you change the gender, change the grammar in the sentence, that's going to teach. How many parts of speech are there now?
Parts of speech.
How many parts of speech are there in American English? What are you saying?
8.
He said there are 8. Now watch this. There are those references going to tell you that there are 8. And then there are also going to be the reference that tells you that there are 7. Name them. How many vowels are there? You said A, E, I, O, and U. You must be from Germany.
No.
Originally, the people who actually developed those vowel sounds came from Germanic-speaking peoples. They came from the Northerners, who came down and invaded the Anglo-Saxons. The Romans invaded the Anglo-Saxons, and from the Romans, these people who now speak English got A, E, O, U. What is it in Spanish? What is it in French? What is it in Swahili? Until you get to English, and that's when it starts to change. And so A, E, I, O, U is Snuffy's talk. Y'all sound like Snuffy when you talk. But you think it's correct because it's what you were taught. It's not. The majority of African people who speak African languages on the continent, their vowels coincide with Latin. In other words, if you learn Swahili, let alone Yoruba, it's A, E, O, U. You go to Japan, Ka, Ki, Ki, Ko, Ku. You follow me? You know, what they teach you in school now is short vowels. We don't want to teach our children short and long vowels. We want to teach them that what they call short vowels is a Latin phone. What's a Latin phone? What's a Latin phone, son? Yes, Latin sound. That's right. And a Germanic phone? Germanic sound. Good. So now y'all don't have to say long vowels and short vowels. You don't have any idea where any of that comes from, long and short. You don't have any idea where that comes from, long and short. None. So why are we teaching that to our children? So why are we teaching our children something about they need what's called Black history, but we don't know why they need history? What is history again? According to the language that you speak, what is history? According to that language. Evidence of something that has happened, of past events. Evidence. But now, are you getting evidence based on the way that the people construct the history? Who in this country was the American national historian? What was his name?
Schlesinger.
Which Schlesinger? There were, in the Schlesinger family, 2 of the Schlesingers were national historians.
Arthur Schlesinger.
And Arthur Schlesinger Jr., the father and the son. So now, what did they say? Both of them, but Arthur Schlesinger Jr., what did he say about you relative to history?
Yeah, no history.
That's basically what he said. How do we know that to be for real, that that's what he said?
They left us out.
Pull up Arthur Schlesinger Jr. and
When you say we have social events,
who?
it's less. No,
What do you mean?
no history, just a series of social events.
I understand.
That's deep.
There he is. Now, what is the book that I want everyone to try to acquire? You should be able to pull it up on PDF. What's the name of it?
The Disuniting of America.
That's exactly right. Did you find it?
I think you had a copy of something.
Did I send it to you?
What's the name- what was the name of that book? Once again?
Disuniting of America. Arthur Schlesinger Jr.
Does each administration have a national historian?
Not each administration. That wasn't how they were doing this before. One historian might have had the job for 30 years, like the Supreme Court justice. So what now? You have to understand what is going on with the government. Most of you have no idea what's going on. How many of you knew anything about the what do you call this thing? The primaries before this time? You knew about the primaries? You've known about the primaries. How long have you known about the primaries?
I would say all.
You knew about the primaries. You would say what? All of your life? Since you were how old?
I guess around 9, 10, 11.
And you were 9, 10, 11 when you found out about them?
Not the primaries.
But you went to those schools when you were growing up for people who were actually trying to teach you something. So you must have went to some awfully good schools then.
Manassas was when I was.
And you're saying that Manassas taught you about the primaries
No, I learned that in church.
from your father. You learned about the primaries from your
Church,
father.
right, I learned that in school.
Good. Did the rest of you learn about the primaries from your fathers and mothers? You about to tell me yes?
I just remember going with my grandfather into these union meetings and the United Auto Workers, and they would be having political events explaining who was going to be better for.
And
the
you
workers.
understood what was going on?
Yes, because I was asking, questions.
Okay, good. You know, with the way everybody talks when you come to class a lot of times, I'm under the impression that all of these problems that y'all have, we should have worked them out a long time ago. Because y'all seem to have known about all this stuff all the time. Isn't that right? When we come to class, don't we have people that actually come in and say, they've always known about this?
Right.
Huh? What? I'm just amazed because when I was growing up, I don't remember anybody talking about it. I don't remember anybody talking about it.
I learned about the primaries probably when I went to work for
The union. Okay. And why did you go in to work for the unions? How did they get you into the primary?
because the unions sponsor, they endorse candidates in different levels of the election.
So do so-called black people know about the primaries now?
Not quite, cause they say I already voted once. Why I gotta vote again? You hear that all the time.
I said when President Obama was running, I think maybe was politically engaged. They may have.
They learned about the primaries
Yeah, the primaries,
based on Obama
Yeah.
when he was engaged.
with the so-called black people. Yeah, I remember.
So you're saying that so-called black people are actually getting politically involved now?
But I know it was an issue though, because they were worried about whether or not, people were worried about whether or not they were gonna go back out and vote for
See, I
Obama
marched
again,
in
cause
all
they
the
said they
marches.
had
I
already
marched.
voted.
Martin Luther King, my dad was a Republican, my mother was a Democrat, and they always divided on that, and they talked about that religiously.
So now, since we've been knowing so much so long, and we really understand everything, when are we gonna start studying what we call Black history?
I mean, to me, I think history is important. So,
History is very important,
I mean,
but is the history of people that you call black people, is that important?
I don't call people black. I mean,
You don't call
after-
people black. After what now?
After coming to your class.
Okay, so good. You've learned that we don't have to identify people with a label. That's good, but you're just one person, and I'm pretty sure that a lot of folks are really having a problem trying to grasp that. I'm sure they are. So what should they do? How should they learn how to get that out of them? I know some of us have a problem getting black and white out of ourselves.
You have to keep reading and keep
looking up words you don't know, and just, that's all I know. I mean, you just have to keep going, and you know, I guess consistently.
And why is it that we need to hold on to black and white and colors and all of this? Why do we need to hold on to it?
Why do we need to?
Yeah.
Why?
Do we need to? That's a good question. Do we need to?
But then we ain't gonna tell us appropriations made by, they
So
say
she's
they
going to say that the NAACP says the reason that you have to apply to the Census Bureau and give them the information is so that your group can receive the proper appropriations, right?
A food stamp.
Or food stamps. Uh-huh.
We got
Okay.
2 minutes.
We got 2 minutes to go?
Yes, sir.
All right. So anyway, since we only got 2 minutes, I didn't know that. What questions do you have about Black history?
Did you answer the Jew question while I was gone? You said
Well, the only
where did
thing
the
that I'm
word
saying
come
about-
from?
That's right.
You said France, and then we said, what does it mean?
France is one of the places that the word actually comes from. But it also comes out of Rome, out of Latin. And it deals with a group that they were calling, the Romans were calling Judaism. So now you're going to have to go step by step and you're going to have to figure out how did the word come into existence now. What was the Greek word that they borrowed from Aramaic for this group of people?
Hebrew?
The Hebrew word, what was it? It was called Yehudi. They were known as Yehudis. What were they known as in Spain?
Moors?
They were Sephardic Jews.
Oh, Moors.
We've got to go step by step. You've got Ashkenazis. You've got all different kinds of people that came from different places. But yet the Jews say they trace their history back to an area that they now identify as Palestine. Yet their grandparents and their great-grandparents and their great-great-great-grandparents, they come out of Russia. So how could they have originated there? So now what we got to do is we got to go back into the story and figure out what's going on. How? Why is it that the people I'm relative to are going for all kinds of nonsense? But now they have the term Jew. Jew is like the term nigger. It's just a slang word. Doesn't mean anything.
Wap, and Guinea, and Big.
They're all slangs. They're all slangs aimed at people in order to try to have something to say that's bad about those groups of people. But why should we have anything bad to say about anybody? I'm just curious. All right, it's time to go.
Before you leave, would you put your chairs back under the table to help the young woman out?
Now, please try to go on the site and do some work. It's basically listed on the front page. The NAACP, the Niagara Movement. Oh, there's an article about water. The article about water will take you to the front page where water element is. And what you do is when you click, it'll give you the address to where you can go get the water. Have you been out there?
Al said to tell y'all peace, Lord from Islam.
You said peace in Islam.
Peace, Lord from Islam.
All right.
Miss Bell, when you doing that that
Oh, we have, I tried to get a room at the library and I couldn't, so
I
I gotta
got
get,
the external mic now.
okay?
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
Okay, all right, well, I gotta get us a room and we're gonna do it. So we're gonna do it this month.
It's gonna be like on what day? Sunday or Saturday?
Probably gonna be during the week. What's better for you?
That's fine. I just have to get somebody to keep running.
You can use
Because people don't like putting stuff on the weekend.
That's fine.
That means your email is not once you send me an email, I'll send you back an invite. Go ahead and join. Then the email that you actually join with, you receive whatever I send out, talking about classes. So how did you come out tonight?
I know I didn't see.
Every day is your birthday. That's how you live your life. I like it.
I'm not missing my.
Introduce yourself.
How you doing, young man?
Wrong hand, wrong
Wrong
hand.
hand. Other
Wrong
hand.
hand.
What's your name? Todd. Glad to meet you. My name is Lee. No, it's too late.
I need to start because I know it's not at 10 o'clock.
You alright? Alright, so do you have a copy of the book? You start with the charts? Alright, you have a book? Alright. Good talk.
Good as always, sir.
See y'all next week.
And,